We have
it's because they're somewhat sociopathic.
Oh,
awesome! Looks like we got a caller.
Oh, awesome! Very cool.
Hold on, we have another.
Oh, let me get you plugged in.
Oh, here we are.
I'll get you rigged up here. I'll be on one.
Hey, Jerry. I'm getting plugged in right now.
I'll get you rigged up here. There we go. You're on 2, and I'll turn your volume up. Let me know. Get you there.
Yep.
We got everybody.
Can you hear us, Jerry?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, there you are.
How you doing, Jerry?
Going pretty good. About you guys?
Just too early in the morning on our side of the world for me, but apart from that, too late in the day for him. Too early in the morning for me, but apart from that, doing pretty well.
Right on. What part of the
having us.
Whereabouts are you on the East Coast, West Coast?
West Coast.
Right on. Liberals treating you okay out there?
I stay away from California at least.
There you go. Good man. Good man.
I've got a couple friends in Pomona, but
right on.
I usually don't like to be there.
So you guys were going rough and tumble. Let's explain to everybody how you guys met and what's going on.
I did the story about Ian Rylett, the 7 awesome kids, 7 super girls network of channels. And, you know, I'd written a story about this last year when Daniel Tosh covered it. And after Daniel Tosh did that, they shut down one of his channels. And it was like, hooray! No. Guy had multiple channels. And most of them are still up. Alex Jones, not allowed. But creepy rapist, child groomer, well, I don't know. It's good for business. But yeah, so they found me through that article. And because, you know, like I said, there's not a lot of people dealing with this. The hashtag, by the way, for anybody watching, hashtag YouTube Wake Up. You can find out more about this. But yeah. Tell us, Jerry. You know more about this than me. I just kind of signed on pretty much late last week.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that more people are not in depth as to what's been going on, because you have channels like Daddy of 5, which hit multiple news agencies and had the cops take away the kids. You have big YouTubers like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, that has been big for exploitation in regards to the family. All these YouTubers are slowly being exploited, and kids, instead of wanting to look up to what we used to look up to, which was Hollywood stars like Britney Spears and all that, kids are now going to the point where they look up to Logan Paul, they look up to Jake Paul.
They want to be a YouTube star now, yeah. Exactly,
they want to be a YouTube star. So YouTube has a function on there where you don't need a program, you don't need anything. You just click the button and it instantly goes to live. So all you have to do is hit a certain hashtag or something. You instantly can start a live stream and do whatever it is. And these kids are wanting to pretty much be anything to be famous. And these people go in there to exploit them, saying, hey, if you do this for me, I'll give you 25 likes. Hey,
right, they start out being friendly, and then, you know, classic grooming tactics. Hey, you're so pretty, you're so talented. Exactly. Let me see your feet. And it just slowly works in like that. And
this is something that is even happening right now as we speak. You know, kids are doing very simple things like truth or dare or gymnastics or anything like that, and it's just, you know, exponentially getting worse with the exploitation within it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have to admit, I mean, terrible thing if it just, you know, when it's going on with kids, that's just terrible. But the model, I don't know, if you were a moral person, well, you'd have to be, you're borderline on this. But if these people are getting paid in likes and they're doing stuff like that, okay. I mean, let's just say, barring, you know, the exploitation of children, I really don't have a problem with that, because that's just kind of like a Darwin will take. That whole thing.
If an adult wants to, who's that guy, Shoe Nice? If an adult wants to eat dog turds and drink bleach for views, that's okay. But yeah, this is a totally different game when we're talking about kids as young as 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And they don't know what's going on at first.
Oh, that's just
terrible.
They're
being slowly groomed into this,
Ugh, that's sick.
And if
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that. And if you haven't seen already, YouTube in the past has been hit with certain things like YouTube Kids, which is their app, and basically they got hit with, you can look it up, a major thing called Elsagate, as what most people call it. Basically, it's where kids' content is disguised as something much more perverse. Like, for example, they have
really
Elsa Spider-Man and underwear and all that kind of stuff, or like needles, knives, worm coming out their ears, type of stuff.
I mean, I'm an adult, and I was disturbed by some of these.
Yeah, that stuff was disgusting, to say the least. And kids, especially now with how single parents are, and for how easy it is to just give a kid a tablet and say, hey, here you go, have the tablet. The tablet will take care of the kid for a couple hours. That's how a lot of parents do it nowadays, especially with babysitting.
Yeah, I remember years back, I had a friend and he had kids, and the kid would just sit there and watch YouTube videos for hours, and I'm like looking at the YouTube videos, and it's like adults playing with little kid toys, and I'm like, the one video I saw, and this is years ago, and I'm like, that's kind of creepy. So this guy just I know the parents aren't going to sit here and let me make sure. I mean, there's millions of these videos, and a parent cannot, vet and check each one.
Yeah.
And it's bad enough to let TV babysit your kids. It's absolutely dangerous to let the internet do it.
Oh yeah.
You've got a pervert on the other end of the screen who can see your kid, who is talking to your kid, who tells you, one of the things from you guys I saw where one of their tactics is they teach the kids how to do live streams and then take them off immediately. Meanwhile, the pervs are saving these videos. Once they get them to do something that they're embarrassed about later, they use that as leverage to make them do more. There was a story a couple years ago where a girl killed herself because, this 12, 13, 14, and, got talked into taking her top off, and then it's all your family and friends will see this video. If you don't, now you've got to...
people killing themselves.
Yeah, one thing that we're slowly discussing right now, and in future things as well, that's also an issue, is you have groups, because the YouTube has not dealt with this problem yet. You have groups that are banding together, that are blackmailing these kids, that are gathering, evidence, as to say, going on to group messages like Kik and all that, and Telegram, and gathering all these types of things, going into DMs of these kids, having them, either dance for them or anything perverse, and then selling that for money.
Yeah, the bit of terminology I got, once again, from the Exposing Exploitation, pedo whales. They save all these videos from all these different channels. That way, once the kid does get embarrassed, realizes what they've done, and they take their video off, you can't delete from the internet. There's a delete button. The delete button, that hides it from you.
Yeah.
You can hide things from yourself. You can't delete.
That's true.
And one thing that they do as well is, if they notice that a lot of people are going into these live streams, they'll tell them to, for example, remake the live stream but with emojis, so that way they would be the only ones to find it. And then they would go in there and then tell them that it's okay, do whatever we say, and then you can delete it afterwards. No one will see the live stream as long as you delete it.
That's a rough one.
I've seen some of these comments. Thank goodness on the videos that I've seen, it's just the chat bar. But one, you can hear these little girls. They're they can't be 11. And you hear them reading these comments out loud, and you see what's going through the chat bar. And it's sickening. And it makes me really sad, And YouTube doesn't care. Real John Doe in the chat is pointing out, we got these issues that are real: grooming of kids, the Elsagate thing, the disasters that the MSM doesn't cover. But Alex Jones, a literal self-proclaimed character for a satire show, is causing the media to melt down if something doesn't get done against an idea. Like I said, that's priorities. You got trillions of views and millions of hours. That translates to a lot of ad revenue.
Yeah, I mean.
And one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. What's interesting on YouTube's end is they've already got hit with one strike with the YouTube Kids thing. They lost about $150 million in ad revenue because I think Adidas and some other really big ad agencies
Mars was another of them,
yeah. And yeah, they lost all that ad revenue during YouTube Kids, and they said that they're going to hire all of these workers, I think 50,000 moderators, but now we're seeing the other side, which is even worse. And
the trusted flaggers are saying that their hands are tied. I've seen where they're talking to the trusted flagger team, and they're saying, they won't check we're pointing out where it is, and they won't do anything. Our hands are tied. And according to these guys, it's 50,000 to 100,000 at least of these predatory commenters and active groomers. Well, you know what? Pedophiles and meth heads are like cockroaches. Where you see one, there's 100 in hiding.
Oh, yeah.
We only see the ones that are active. I love you guys, by the way. Jaden 2004, Siltob. There are active accounts. Some of these are coming back and coming back and coming back. You can't get rid of them. They just keep coming back. And YouTube just doesn't seem to care. Jeff Goldberg wrote about Periscope and how Periscope was implicated in some of this active real-time grooming. He was writing articles about this for months. I think he did some stuff at The Guardian and things. I noticed, sadly, BuzzFeed and us are like the only U.S. outlets I know that are covering these stories.
Oh, man, that's terrible.
And Jeff Goldberg is talking about what's going on at Periscope. Guess what happens? They cut him off of Periscope. Now, he's the same guy who reported on, before the Twitter bot story, hey, guess what? Half of Twitter's users are bots. And then he got banned from Twitter. Well, that fixes
That's no big surprise.
That's how we'll fix it. Let's kill the messenger and pretend it's not going on.
Yeah, I mean, this just on the bigger sense of it, it goes to show you how disconnected the management culture is at all these media outlets, at the Google and Facebook and a lot of the social media. They're totally disconnected. They're acting as if there's no law. I mean, it's always a challenge. I mean, I've worked in abuse, and it requires the help of people. It requires the help of the people that are hosted, or just a random John Q public that wants to step in and say, hey, listen, here's some content you need to know about.
Well, what's interesting about YouTube's case, for one, all of us within EE has tried to apply for a YouTube flagger, and we all got denied. That's one thing that's extremely odd. And the other thing is YouTube has this algorithm with how they handle the entire website. When you watch something, you get recommended videos. No one necessarily knows how the algorithm works, but we've been playing with the algorithm. We can't say for certain, but it's able to find these videos a lot quicker than it should be. So my question is, if they have this algorithm that's able to find these videos, able to find
these live streams, how come they can't shut it down just as easily?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've already got the mechanism. Yeah, I mean, that's half the problem, is identifying the content, deleting it. And I mean, they should, to be fair, they should have a transparency report. Okay, and
if it was a priority, they would and could do something.
And to be honest, because it's going to be a criminal prosecution and somebody's committing a serious felony on your network, You should have a transparency report to the degree that it isn't totally destroying law enforcement's case of collecting further evidence. So when you get a subpoena, a summons, or a warrant at an ISP, and I used to get them all the time as part of my job, and I mean, it's not a good job. You have to give some credit to the folks that are doing network abuse over there, because it's a rough. It requires a different person. It requires, I would never hire a woman to do it. I just couldn't bring myself to ever have a woman go through that. It's just, there's no sense in it. But the big question here is as far as transparency, are you proactive about it? Like the folks over at sonic.net, they call you, they will tell you beforehand that you're being looked at by someone and that they've received a summons or a subpoena or warrant. And they will tell you, that, hey, as part of our transparency clause, this is it. Problem there is that if you really want to help law enforcement, especially in these cases, you shouldn't be telling your client that they're being investigated. So that's the big judgment call that I've had to make a couple of times, is whether or not you tell the client in that circumstance. You really have to get the emotion out of it, as much as we hate to see this happening. But if you really hate it, then you should find some sort of justifiable excuse to circumvent the transparency agreement, especially if it's critical for a couple of days for these guys to keep the site up so they can collect more information and maybe put some tools on your server to
somehow
identify everyone.
Doubt that's what YouTube is doing now.
No, yeah. They're not taking it seriously.
Do you know that both Australia and the US have operated CP honeypots for now hold on a minute. So basically, at one point, the U.S. was one of the most active, the FBI was, because it was the biggest, child porn, in the Onion routing and Tor, the biggest network of child porn was being run by the FBI.
Yeah.
So the biggest share of child exploitative material is the FBI. What?
Magic Kingdom. Tell us about that,
Yeah, that one got... because there were multiple CP websites. Most of them are gone, I want to say. They got rid of, I want to say, 50 within the last year and a half or so. Mm-hmm. And the last couple ones, they've been running for the last 6 months, and they've actually been able to take a lot of this stuff down, especially with the most recent bills. They've been able to handle a lot of the sex trafficking, a lot of the websites. And a lot of them, I want to say, they were on the East Coast that hosted the websites that they were able to arrest them.
Do you think this is why they're, there's the Omegle Gate thing. Do you think this is why they're using, file sharing sites and peer-to-peer chat anonymous peer-to-peer chat networks? You think, they're being flushed out of their old hiding spots in the dark web, the deep web? You think they're just digging in deeper and finding new places to hide? Because I don't see them disappearing.
I mean, no, they're not disappearing. The thing is that they're being flushed into other areas. And the thing that's easier for them is the fact that they're right in the open. If you were to download something, for example, on Tor, that's going to be flagged. If you're downloading something on Tumblr just as an image, it's not going to be flagged as much. Mm-hmm. If you simply use a VPN and you do the simple steps and you go onto something like Tumblr and you download an image, an image, and it says puppy, they're not going to look at that too much. They're not. And for these people, they're going on to social media websites like Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube, Musical.ly, all those types of social media websites and apps that they can not only lure, because technically with what some of them say is they're not producing CP, they're just pushing the idea towards these kids, then they're producing it themselves, and then they get the content.
Somehow that is more nefarious to me.
Mm-hmm.
It
Well, I don't know. Leave it up to
some of these people. It's it's over the top for like how some of them act, because there's a couple of groups, especially on YouTube, where they have the higher ups get like simple lower rank YouTubers, as we would call them, and they would go onto live streams and tap it and then email it or send it via Kick, and then the top leader has it and he's able to send it around. Because you got Sotob, you got Tandy, you got a couple different groups on YouTube and all these other places.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a rough one. I think that there's a way to do this, and they're not doing it.
Yeah, and the thing that sucks with YouTube is their reporting tools are not that great at all. Like if you were to report a comment on a live stream, it just reports that comment, which then is flagged the next day, but the live stream already happened.
That really
doesn't go towards the actual accounts.
Wow. Yeah, they should have
the actual account and get rid of the account.
I mean, they should have an escalation procedure for something like this. I mean, especially because it's a unique problem for anybody that's hosting content or owns an image board or owns an ISP. It's a constant battle because most of us will do anything to keep people's privacy. But I'm sorry, there's exceptions. There are exceptions.
Oh yeah.
And it's
I'm a privacy freak. I believe in the Fourth Amendment. Honestly, that's why I'm not a big fan of Kavanaugh personally.
Right. Yeah.
I don't like I would rather see somebody else on the Supreme Court, but that doesn't mean you smear somebody for rape. But I believe in the Fourth Amendment. I believe in the right to privacy. I also believe that once you do certain things or are suspected of certain things, you've given up any you've got like a right to privacy. You've got like a reasonable right to privacy, but then like you commit certain acts or are suspected, like you're in the neighborhood next to the place that just got burnt down. When the cops get there, we're gonna search you for matches.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think there's just exceptions as a people exception. It's not, you shouldn't be making rules for everybody. I think that if you do certain things, you just, I'm sorry, you lose, you're going to have to lose some rights even before you're persecuted, even before you're prosecuted by the law, even before you step into a courtroom. There's exceptions, and I hate the idea of this because, eventually it's going to be abused. And the Me Too thing is going to start with pedos. Hopefully that happens, but hopefully that they're going to be doing a
Me Too's led by a grooming predator.
Yeah.
And an apologist for Victor Salva, serial child rapist, child pornographer.
Yeah,
they don't care about kids.
The power structure there is, and it's a threat to them personally, obviously, if you want to start going into it. But I just think that it's a tricky situation, but you just have to use some common sense and a little morality. Maybe do it on a case by case basis, and open your own internal investigation on it. Have people standing by. These guys can afford to have a team standing by, and they can liaise. This is the biggest thing too. I think that I did this at a medium-sized internet service provider. Right now, I think they've got maybe 250,000 clients. Back then, I think it was maybe 40,000 is what we had. So what we did, but it was the bulk of it was that I would encourage people to have a relationship personally with their ISP if they're going to be sending, for example, bulk email, which was a big problem back then, and then you had the Canned Spam Act, which, oh my God. So, but the point is that you don't hide in the corners, and you just call the ISP, and you call the people who are going to receive, say, 1 billion emails, and that's not an exaggeration. People do send in the billions. And you call them and you say, listen, what are your filters like today? Can you give me a copy of your rule set? Which is something normally no ISP would ever give you in their right mind. But if you're doing a massive amount of email, they know. So there's no reason to work against each other on this stuff. And the relationship that providers have with law enforcement should be the same thing. You should have a team of people who are good at getting at identifying child porn in an expeditious way on an escalation procedure, and then have them liaise with the proper people, a team of people who do nothing but get subpoena summons and warrants and digital warrants, and people that are, because you got to do it by the book, and you have to have 24 hours judges available 24 hours a day to sign those things immediately so that you can catch these folks within hours of their discovery. So that's my, that's my take on it. And I think hiding behind that, because eventually it's going to get to that, and you're just going to have to decide that this is important. It's important. I mean, what kind of pervert, amoral person is going to want that to stay on their network? Screw it.
The one thing I will say is I really hope for more tech companies, YouTube and all this, to use what Twitter uses. Like, as much as Twitter has been a pain, the most recent thing that's helped with the new laws that's been put in place by Trump with the sex laws is it's helped with Twitter's CSE, which they use by NTMEC, which every single type of like child abuse report goes through them, and then they get to all the different authorities within there.
Well, hopefully people are going to be taking this a little more seriously, because there's no reason not to have. Somebody ought to be really focusing on this in the best way possible. And I think, Jerry, obviously you're bringing light to it. Hopefully by we'll be posting this show on the Goldwater, and we've got a few people coming to the site. Have you seen the stats this month? They're looking pretty sprightly.
Yep.
Last month was killer. So yeah, people will see that.
One thing I find interesting is how our overall unique IPs hasn't grown much over the last 8 months, but everything else has. You know what that means?
More people are coming.
The same people are coming, but they're visiting more.
Yeah.
Like the guy 8 months ago, and he was like, "Oh, I just discovered this site. Oh, I'll read this article." And the next month he's reading 2 articles, and the next month he's going 3 times a week, and as of September he cruises us every day.
Yeah, and as our bounce rate has gone way down. Actually, it's incredible for us being a news website what our bounce rate is. People come and stay. So hopefully we're getting things going in a better. You're going to see a lot of good stuff coming this month. We're going to be pressing really hard on some really important things. We're getting an idea of what people are coming to the Goldwater to read. And this, Jerry, what we're talking about right now is right up their alley. So we'll be posting this show on the site, and we'll have it over on 8chan and in News Plus, and we'll be hammering away on that and get the word out on this, because and this is obviously, we should probably write up an article on this as well, because those articles are always getting tons of traffic.
Yeah,
People care about
I think
this.
I told the folks at EE, we've got, if you look at our the top bar, we've got a dedicated section for we call it the pedogate category.
Yeah,
because
tons of articles.
So many other people, nobody wants to touch these stories.
I'd say that since and we're only 2 years old. The Goldwater is.
This is October. This is the 2-year anniversary. Is this month?
I think we just had it. I think that was for the registration of the domain. So I don't know how but I think we just hit 2 years, and I would say just in stories focused on pedophiles, over 1,000. I would think. Has to be. Well, it's in the high hundreds. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's more than 500, I would say. Because it's like 2 a day. So, if you figure that one every, so it's less than 1,000, but I would say 1 a day. So it'd be over 500 stories have been written on We just group it into pedogate. But, you know, I had these people, I just love this, this whole, you know, the debunked. And the fact that we're having, I still use the term Pizzagate. Because for me, Pizzagate was not about just that comet ping pong. I mean, that was a creep show, and it's certainly not about a guy going in for whatever reason. A guy with an AR-15 that's going to